Good afternoon. My name is Kimberly, and along with me are my group members, Hui Hui, Risky, and Chen Hong. We are going to present our project for ETW Corporation. A little bit of background is that ETW Corporation's finance team is planning to modernize their financial management practice by using data and advanced analysis. Reason being, they want to be more innovative, productive, and have better performance. The current practice in the team is by using spreadsheets and sharing this sensitive information through Outlook. Several versions of the spreadsheets can cause confusion having an unstandardized system. The finance team is in need of a centralized information distribution system to avoid any confusion or leak of internal data. As a solution, we have made a financial performance dashboard prototype targeted to the finance department by using Power BI. I'll pass it on to Chen Hong.
Okay, so for the project plan, the estimated time frame we used was 31.5 days, and it started from August 30th and finished on the October of 14th. And the final time frame however, the final time frame we used was only 30.5 days. We started on the same day, but we ended earlier by 1 day, which is October of 13. So in our timeline, in our timeline, we perform planning and scheduling, prepare data pipelines, stakeholder presentation, and also the dashboarding. Okay, next, the project plan for the estimated budget and the final budget. So the estimated budgeted cost of work performed is the budgeted cost of the value work that has been accomplished or completed to the date. This contains the cumulative value of the task and resource percentage completed multiplied by the time phase baseline cost, and it is used to compare with the actual cost to work performed. So as you can see, the estimated budget we have is actually 22,800 ringgit and 875, sorry, and then the final budget we got is 20,000 with 825. So actually, in this project plan, we have used a lesser budget. So I'll pass it up to Hui Hui.
So there has been discrepancy in the time frame and budget. So for the time frame, the discrepancy is 1 day, and the reason to the discrepancy is that there has been over allocation that has to be resolved by rescheduling and resource addition because there was over allocation in resources. So the next reason is that there has been the duration for some tasks under the dashboarding has been reduced as we have used lesser time to complete the project. So overall time frame is shorter since the reduction in duration of tasks is more than the delay caused by rescheduling. For the discrepancy in budget, the value is 2,050 ringgit lesser, and the reasons to budget discrepancy is that additional BI developer and tester has been brought in, and the second reason is the actual duration reduced results in more cost reduction. So overall budget is lower since the cost saved by reduction in duration is higher than the additional resources added. So moving on to the next slide. There are issues caused by additional work requested by clients. So we have done an additional work, which is the invoice tab, creating invoice tab. So there has been additional time needed in the form of discussion, task allocation, and even carrying out the task itself. So all this needs time. And the second issue is that more resources and skills are needed because this task is not planned and no resources has been allocated. Now we have to allocate the new resource, and we need new skills to complete the task. So this has arises issues where more resource and skills are needed. I'll pass on to Risky now.
Okay, now to conclude, so our project finished ahead of the schedule and under budget, even though there are additional tasks and resources need to meet the client requests. Next, additional task is added to meet the client changes since the client asked for some requests in the middle of the project. For the learning part, we do a retrospective learning at the end of the project within our team to see what learning we learned. First, not all client changes requests need to be done. Since in this project, the client asked for 4 additional changes from the initial requirement. However, these changes will need more time and resources. Thus, only one request is done to keep to be in schedule and on budget. Next, communication is important. Communications could bring a great teamwork with high velocity and successful project. Next, we will see the team health monitor. Okay, so these are the team health monitor. There are eight attributes, and as we can see here, this team are strong in most of the attribute, but kind of weak in the shared understanding and value metrics. Shared understanding means the team still has not strong common understanding and confident about doing the task, and value and metrics means that the team still does not have a strong definition of success. Next, we have recommendations. So there are 2 recommendations, which are constant communications, because again, communication is important for the team to be successful. And lastly, this team need more preparations and understanding about the software that are going to be used, which are the Power BI and Microsoft project. Because when we're doing the project itself, we encounter some problems within using the software, thus a little more depth understanding will be needed. Next, we will go to the guided walkthrough in Power BI.
Okay, so for the planning and scheduling, the finance team has provided us few data, which is the calendar, bank summary, invoices, and PL. So as you can see that we have managed the relationship by using the calendar date with the bank summary date and also the PL date. But only for the invoices date, we use the calendar date with the due date. So all of these variables we used the one-to-many, we use one-to-many. And after that, we also had an update from the finance team that we have added another invoice, which is payable. And we also made a relationship with using the calendar date with the invoice payables date, invoice payables due date. Yeah.
So now I'll be talking about ETW Corporation's financial performance. We have analyzed the data from 1st of October to 31st of September 2021. And we can see that in September 2021, the net profit margin turns out to be 2.34%. And the gross profit margin was 48.18%. So the gross profit amount for September was 30,148 and 13 cents. And they have a sales of 62,577 ringgit and 7 cents. The net profit from what they earned was 1,464 ringgit and 28 cents. So if you can see, this graph is from 31st October 2020 to 30th September 2021. So as you can see, in August 2021, the amount of net profit they have earned was 29,622. It was the peak from this time frame. However, the net profit fell in September to 1,464 ringgit and 28 cents. If you can see here, in August, the total cost of sale was 39,547. However, the total income was 100,449 ringgit. But if you can see, in September, the total cost was 40,179 ringgit, which was higher than what they had in August. And the total income was 70,327 ringgit, which was much lower than what they have earned in August. Even though there is a high cost in September, overall, ETW Corporation is still in the gain as their total income is still higher than the total cost. I'll pass it on to Hui Hui by pressing this.
So This, as can be seen in the cash movement tab, the account receivable totals up to 20,820 ringgit, and the accounts payable total up to 2,930 ringgit. And if the management wants to see the breakdown, it can be seen in these two tables where the left shows the account receivables breakdown and the right shows the accounts payables breakdown. And for the graph of cash movement, it can be seen that the graph shows the cash movement from October 2020 all the way to September 2021. So for the opening and closing balance, it can also be seen in this graph and it is also shown from October 2020 to September 2021. And these two graphs are related in the way where opening balance in each month closing balance for each month is obtained by using the opening balance plus cash received and minus the cash spent. So the break proportion of cash received and cash spent can be seen in this graph. So we can see that cash received and cash spent the transactions are mostly in the Eastpac current account. And as that's the most cash received and cash spent here. And for the petty cash, it has the least transaction, which is reasonable as big transactions should not go through petty cash as it carries a high risk. So that's all for the cash movement. And to add on, graphs can be changed, the period can be changed using this time cutter. Yeah, so as you can see, if we change it to 1st of March 2020, the graph will change accordingly and we can change it back later. Yeah. So I'll pass it on to Chen Hong now.
Okay, so in this invoice tab, as you can see, these are the company names and their invoice numbers. And this big table is about their invoice information, such as it shows the quarter, the month, the invoice number of the companies, and the invoice amount, invoice amount due and invoice amount paid, and their total and what type of invoice they have, like sales invoice or the sales credit invoice, and then the status and the sent and unsent. So in this table, as you can see that Ridgeway University has the highest transaction with between ETW Corporation with the invoice amount paid with 22,087, and then also have the highest for the invoice amount due with 6,187. So if you want to see the graph in detail, you can just click on this, and it shows the invoice amount due and paid for Ridgeway University with all the details in it. And then, as you can see in this date toggle thing here, so this allows company to toggle the date to see whether on which date and which company they would like to view for their invoice status. Yeah.
Okay, so there are three future opportunities that we have, which is first, to have a more centralized finance system. Additional tab for the finances statement might be needed apart from the three tabs which are already created. For example, balance sheet could be added in the dashboard for a more centralized finance system. Next, this dashboard is only available through an offline access. Thus, publishing the dashboard into the company server would be recommended for an easier access. Putting this dashboard in online server will also mean that the higher management could access it easily. Lastly, since this is the first dashboard created for the finance and accounting department, assisting other departments such as marketing and human resource management to create similar dashboard could be done in the future to have a more centralized system overall. Thank you for listening to our presentations.